books. I think it's. I should have checked while I was back there.
Mother Teresa
169 maybe.
Yes, it is. Mother
And I remembered that.
Good job.
And I just said that on YouTube.
You're gonna make the
That it was
teacher
169.
inspectors doubt you.
So I'm happy about that. Yeah, interesting title, isn't it? Mother Teresa versus Hitler.
It definitely draws you in.
This is it does. So this is about the moral law. Here's what the Declaration of Independence says, and follow along with me as I read. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men and women are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Is there a standard? My friend Dave, bless you, bless you, and I were finishing dinner at a dockside restaurant in Portland, Maine. When the conversation turned to religion, I don't think one religion can be exclusively true, Dave said. But it seems like you, Frank, have found your center. You have found something that's true for you, and I think that's great. Playing along with his premise that something can be true for one person but not for another, I asked Dave, what's true for you? What makes life meaningful for you? He said, making money and helping people. Now, Dave is a very successful businessman, so I pressed him a little more. I said, Dave, I know CEOs who have reached the pinnacle of business success. They've planned and achieved great things in their business life, but have planned nothing and achieved little in their personal lives. They're now facing retirement, and they're asking themselves, now what? Dave agreed and added, yeah, I know that most of those CEOs have experienced nasty divorces, mostly because they ignored their families in pursuit of a buck. But I'm not like that. I will not sacrifice my family for money. And in business, we want to help people as well. I commended him for his commitment to his family and his desire to help people. But questions still remained. Why should we be faithful to our families? Who said we should help people? Is helping people a universal moral obligation, or is it just true for you but not for me? And so, and to what end should we help them? Financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually? I said, Dave, if there's no objective standard, then life is nothing but a glorified monopoly game. You can acquire lots of money and lots of property, but when the game is over, it's all going back in the box. Is that all life is all about? Is that what life is all about? Uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation, Dave quickly changed the subject. But his sense that he ought to help people was correct. He just had no way of justifying it. Why did he think he should help people? Where did he get such an idea? And why do you and I, deep down, agree with him? Stop and marinate on that point for a minute. Aren't you just like Dave? Don't you have this deep-seated sense of obligation that we all ought to help people? We all do. Why? And why do most human beings seem to have the same intuitive sense that they ought to do good and shun evil? Behind the answers to those questions is more evidence for a theistic God. The evidence is not scientific. That's what we've seen in previous chapters, but moral in nature. Like the laws of logic and mathematics, the evidence is non-material, but it's just as real. The reason we believe we ought to do good rather than evil, the reason we, like Dave, believe we should help people, is because there's a moral law that has been written on our hearts. In other words, there is a prescription to do good that has been given to all of humanity. Some call this moral prescription conscience, others call it natural law, still others, like our founding fathers, refer to it as nature's law. We refer to it as the moral law. But whatever you call it, the fact that a moral standard has been prescribed on the minds of all human beings points to a moral law prescriber. Every prescription has a prescriber. The moral law is no different. Someone must have given us these moral obligations. The moral law is our third argument in the existence of a theistic God, after the cosmological and teleological arguments. It goes like this. Every law has a lawgiver. There is a moral law. Therefore, there is a moral lawgiver. Yes.
But don't atheists say that there isn't any reason?
They do, but they still, we'll get to that, okay? Yeah, I don't want to explain it now because we'll get to that. Maybe not today, but we'll get to it. So if the first and second premises are true, then the conclusion necessarily follows. Of course, every law has a lawgiver. There can be no legislation unless there's a legislature. Moreover, if there are moral obligations, there must be someone to be obligated to. But is it really true that there is a moral law? Our founding fathers thought so. As Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, nature's law is self-evident. You don't use reason to discover it, you just know it. Perhaps the things that we can't not know, right? It's one of the things that we can't not know. Perhaps that's why my friend Dave hit a roadblock in his thinking. He knew helping people was the right thing to do, but he couldn't explain why without appealing to a standard outside himself. Without an objective standard of meaning and morality, then life is meaningless and there's nothing absolutely right or wrong. Everything is merely a matter of opinion. When we say the moral law exists, we mean that all people are impressed with a fundamental sense of right and wrong. Everyone knows, for example, that love is superior to hate, and that courage is better than cowardice. University of Texas at Austin, Professor J, whatever that is, writes, everyone knows certain principles. I think it's Dostoevsky, but I don't know. I'm not old. C.S. Lewis, who has written profoundly on this topic in his classic work, Mere Christianity, put it this way. Think of a country where people were admired for running away from battle, or where a man felt proud of double-crossing all the people that had been kindest to him. You might just as well try to imagine a country where 2 and 2 made 5. In other words, everyone knows. Now, there might be individuals that would believe that way, but as a whole, people don't believe that way. Yes.
So don't atheists or like people who don't believe in a higher moral standard, like God or whatever it is that they say they don't believe in, don't they just attribute the moral law to the people that are around them? They say, well, as a culture, we think that this is wrong, or we think that this is right.
Right. But every culture thinks that. It's not just our culture that thinks that. Every culture has moral standards. So
right, but they're not attributing that to God. And so how can you say that, oh, moral law equals God, when, I mean, like, yeah, I believe that it comes from God, but also I think that the culture influences it and fluxes it. So if people take God out of it and they say it's just culture, and they don't want to believe in God, or they don't want to see that or whatever, you can't say that it's from that.
Well,
Does that make sense?
doesn't that go for everything though? If they're not gonna like accept that it is, when you show them that like, hey, all cultures have this, it might be different, but like there's definitely like differences. That every culture has this, there has to be more than just like, oh, that just happened. Well, if they're not want to believe that, they're not gonna change their mind about it. That's what it's gonna say.
Are they talking about that?
I mean, it would be like every nation had the same national anthem, same words, same everything, and that couldn't happen by chance,
Mm-hmm.
right? There had to be somebody that made it that way, right? Now, that's not going to happen, but that's not just going to naturally happen. And this is the same. And again, we're just this is just the introduction to this chapter, and we'll talk way more. And
Are they going to talk about the cultures where?
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Couldn't they use like the theory of like there's like thousands and billions of universes?
The multiverse theory?
Yeah, this one just so happens to have every.
Yeah, there's no science behind
Yeah,
it
but
though.
that doesn't fit because there might, if there are other universes and they have that too, the same is true for them. It isn't here because of other universes, because we don't have any doings with any other universes, right? It doesn't really even have to do with our universe. It only has to do with the planet Earth. Does that make sense? This is true for the planet Earth, and again,
Amoebas and Mars
I
don't care.
don't want to give it away, but there's going to be one sentence that's going to prove to you that everybody has a moral law. Okay? And generally it's the same. But I don't want to give it away at this juncture. So some call this moral perspective conscious, others call it nature's law. I went past this. Where am I? I'm on this page. Where do we get off?
When we,
In other words, everybody.
In other words, that's in other words. I know it's at the bottom. Okay, so in other words, everyone knows there are absolute moral obligations. An absolute moral obligation is something that is binding on all people, at all times, in all places. And an absolute moral law implies an absolute moral lawgiver. Now, this does not mean that every moral issue is easily recognizable, has easily recognizable answers, or that some people don't deny the absolute morality exists. There are difficult problems in morality, and people suppress and deny the moral law every day. It simply means that there are basic principles of right and wrong that everyone knows, whether they will admit them or not, whether they live by them or not. Batuszewski calls this basic knowledge of right and wrong what we can't not know. I already used that term in his book by that title. We can't not know, for example, that it is wrong to kill innocent human beings for no reason. Some people may deny it and commit murder anyway, but deep in their hearts, they know murder is wrong. Even serial killers know murder is wrong. They just don't feel remorse. And like all absolute moral laws, murder is wrong for everyone, everywhere, in America, India, Zimbabwe, and in every other country, now and forever. That's what the moral law tells every human. So we're going to stop there. Open up your little atheist book.
that's not the sentence, is it?
That's not the sentence.
That was a question.
Oh,
That's not the sentence, is it?
no, that's not the sentence. Not yet. Okay, so we are on page.
Took my memory.
51.
Emily.
Ruined it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think we're doing the. Oh, which one? Okay, emboldened question 1. Emboldened question 1. What time do we get out of here?
Oh, that's
46.
46.
Man, I just feel like I went cross-eyed. That was
Where'd my
funny feeling.
phone?
I didn't like
Okay, question number 1 on the emboldened. It is clear that our founders believed in God as well as the moral law. How does the preamble of the Declaration of Independence reveal such truth? I'm not asking for a quote from them. I'm asking how does it reveal that truth?
Oh, so well, I was gonna say
Yeah.
because literally quite in the Constitution it says inalienable rights endowed to us by our Creator.
Yeah.
God.
So, but I think we need to go back even from that. They called certain human rights self-evident, something everybody knows. You don't have to be taught that, right? Even if you're babysitting and they've got, say 2-year-old, 3-year-old twins, right? Someone's going to hit somebody, right?
No.
You never hit each other?
No, I just
Actually,
cut her
I have a
eyelid.
scar on my eyelid where she cut me with scissors.
There we go. There we go. That's on YouTube. But
No, I genuinely don't know. I just know that she's
But
not
they
mine,
know
so
they're
it's
doing
fine.
wrong, right? They know they're doing wrong when they do that. It's self-evident. we just know that these rights are right. That's the foundation, not only of our government, also every different legal system all over the universe, not the universe, all over the world, is based on this idea that there's such a thing as right and there's such a thing as wrong. I can't remember everything about that right now, so then number 2. After reading a conversation with Frank Turek had with his friend Dave over dinner, what significant truths did he share with his friend? Yeah. Is your hand
I'm
up?
thinking,
Okay. Yes.
like, what's the purpose of life if you don't understand, like, where morality is? Right, it has to be a source.
Why be moral if you don't think there's a standard?
Right.
It'd be nice if you don't have to.
Yeah. Basically, who told you that, right? Or how do you know that? Why do we want to help people? Why do we think doing good things is good? This is going out on YouTube, so I don't want to name names. But I acquired a new manager at basketball. I haven't always been a fan of managers because generally they don't do much. But I could tell like right away, like she wants to help. She wants to and that's what she said to me. I just want to be a help to you, and she is. But who? Where does that? And we all look at that, right? And we go, oh, that's so great. Why?
People have sucky attitudes these days.
Well, let's go further back than that. What makes us believe that? And that's what everyone believes, and even serial killers, right? They know what's right and wrong. They just don't care. And no, I'm not going to say it.
No, say it.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Say it. I'll pause it. Pause YouTube.
Number 2. After reading the conversation, wait, is that what we just did?
We just did that.
Okay. So we'll skip 3. We'll go to the equip. We'll get as much done as we can of 1 through 4. And whatever we don't get done, today's Wednesday. Shoot, won't be. Let's get as much as we can done.
Okay. Yeah. I'll get that.
So what are some names for the moral law?
Natural, nature's
law. Nature's law. That's what it's called in the the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Conscience is another, which is conscience. CONSCIENC.
Does it mean with science?
Is it like, does that
No, it
already
means
mean?
natural.
Without? Because that
So nature's law.
science means with science.
I'm just helping you spell it.
Natural.
I like
And
that.
then what's the last one?
Natural.
Natural law. Natural law. So nature's law, natural law, and conscience. Number 2. Write out the argument for the moral law. Just go ahead and do that. It's in your book. Write it down.
If then. Figures too.
So every law has a lawgiver. There is a moral law, therefore there is a moral lawgiver. Number 3, look at page 171. This is a quote from the book. So just shout out the answer for the blank. So without an
Objective standard.
objective standard of meaning. Without an objective standard of meaning.
Where is this? Oh, I found it. Never mind.
I found it.
Without an objective standard of meaning and morality, then life is
Meaningless.
meaningless. Without an objective standard of meaning and morality, then life is meaningless, and there's nothing
Absolutely right.
absolutely right
Yeah.
or
Wrong.
absolutely wrong. Nothing absolutely right or absolutely wrong. Everything is merely a matter of
Opinion.
a matter of opinion. Yep. So we will pick up here tomorrow, just to give you a little bit of an idea of your future.
Tell me a wise. One.
So this is the last
Chapter.
chapter of this semester, and we'll move on to your final paper or presentation.
Ooh, so we're not taking a test. We're doing
Oh, really? Yes.
I would rather take a test.
That means that this is way. Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. That just like makes my finals so much easier. Yes, it does because it means I don't have to study.